So when I was 18 years old, I was at my best friend's house when something strange happened. After playing a game of basketball, we walked back inside this house and he went up to change and I went to his kitchen to see if there was something to eat. As I was shuffling around in this kitchen, the phone started to ring. And mind you, I'm 43 years old at the time of doing this video. This is back in the times when the phone was on the wall and we didn't have smartphones either. So since no one was around, I decided to answer it. And as I was walking to the phone, I got a massive shot of pain in my low back and I fell to the ground. And I was startled. I didn't know what to do. I felt like I couldn't move, felt like I just had hip surgery, to be honest. And after a while, I was able to get myself back up, but I started to feel pain right down my lower back. So not knowing what this was, I told my friend that I had to go home, and I was walking back. I could feel the pain shooting all the way from the side of my leg up to my lumbar spine. And I tried to tough it out, and after a couple of days, I decided to take it to a chiropractor. And after checking in on me, he doing a couple of adjustments, he ended up charging me 75 bucks for a session, and he gave me the following prognosis. And I'm paraphrasing, but he basically said that my back was messed up, it would be messed up for the rest of my life, and I have to go to him for the rest of my life to get adjustments. And ever since that trip to the chiropractor, over the course of 5 years, I had dealt with chronic low back pain. I'd gone back to the chiropractor for several adjustments. I've gone to different specialists to see exactly what was happening with my back, and it was a long and arduous journey, but after a while, I was like, you know what? I can't keep on trying to do the same thing and trying to get a different result. So I ended up taking my solution into my own hands, doing my own research, and then I was able to finally get rid of my low back pain. So in this video, I want to show you exactly how I did it and the things that I particularly did, the exercises I did, and the lessons that I've learned, in hopes that if you are suffering from low back pain, that maybe this can help you as well. So if you're ready, let's get into it. So the very first thing I did was I started by assessing the problem and trying to find what the root of the issue is, because anytime that you feel pain, pain is the symptom, but it doesn't necessarily speak to what is actually causing it. So my pain had nothing to do with my spine, but what I found from doing a few assessments is that it came from having a weak core, inactive glutes, lack of movement, and ego lifting. One thing that we have to understand about pain is that it's multifactorial, and in order to fix the issue, you need to find out what the roots are. So the first part of my journey was trying to find out how can I actually assess my problem. And I went into multiple books, I went into multiple courses. One thing I will say is that if you are dealing with low back pain and you want to assess the problem, I'm going to leave a description or a link in the description below of what I find to be one of the better assessments that are out there, and it's conducted by this guy named Aaron Horschig, or Dr. Aaron Horschig from Squat University, and I'm gonna have those links below. And one of the first things that you wanna do, you wanna assess exactly where the issue lies. And by doing a couple of exercises, you can actually find out where the pain is, what's causing the pain, and then you can go about finding the solution to fixing it. So my big problem, or one of my big problems, one of my many problems, was the fact that I had a weak core. So in order to strengthen my core, in order to bring myself more core stability, I did something called the McGill Big Three, which consists of the McGill Crunch, Bird Dogs, and Side Planks. And I did this pretty much like every day and before I did my workouts. As a result of doing these exercises on a continuous basis, I felt like whenever you strengthen your core, it's not gonna have a direct effect on your low back by making you miraculously forget about the pain was even there in the first place. But what it does is it has a subtle effect in terms of supporting the actual low back structure. And when I strengthened my core, when I got my core stronger, when I had more core stability, I found that the pain on my back started to subside, and I started to become stronger as a result. So my next biggest problem was my glutes. In short, I had weak glutes. So to strengthen my glutes, I started by activating them using glute bridges before I would do a workout, or even when I would wake up in the morning. And I made them stronger by focusing on hip thrusts. So in terms of like the glute bridges, I did about like 12 to 15 reps, and I did about 1 set per day, 1 set before my workouts. In terms of the hip thrust, I did it once a week, maybe sometimes twice a week. I found that hip thrusts were one of the easiest and most safest ways to strengthen my glutes without putting my low back in harm. So if you do have weak glutes, what happens as a result is that your back has to compensate for the weakness of your glutes. Something that you have to understand about the glutes in general is that they should be the strongest part of your body, but if you sit for long periods of time like I do, what happens as a result is they get a little bit weak. Now, do you get like gluteal amnesia like some people would say? It's like, no, it's not like your glutes forget to fire off. It's the fact that they're just really weak as opposed to the rest of your body. So focusing on my glutes with glute bridges and hip thrusts were very safe ways in which I can strengthen my glute without putting my low back in harm. My next big problem was inactivity. In short, I was just sitting for a long period of time. So when I tracked my steps, I found that I was getting about like 5,000, maybe 4,000 steps per day. So I committed to walking more and sitting less. And one thing you have to understand is that long periods of inactivity causes the body to stiffen. So I invested in an adjustable desk that allows me to sit and stand. And I also made sure that with as much sitting as I was doing, I was making sure that I was taking regular walks outside. And one thing that I know, especially when it comes to my position, when it comes to my situation, is the fact that when I get more movement throughout the day, I just feel less pain overall and my back just feels a lot better. So now I aim for about 8 to 10K steps a day. I always alternate between periods of sitting and standing. This is the reason I got an adjustable desk, and I take regular walks outside. That is enough to make my low back feel healthy and for me to feel zero pain. And lastly, I had to get real with the way I was lifting weights. You know, I found myself chasing big weights instead of focusing on lifting with good form. So I went back to the gym, I reduced all of my weights down, and I focused on lifting the right way. And I made sure to stop at least 1 to 2 reps away from failure. What this does, it allows me to lift a weight with good form, and it prevents me from using any other part of my body to compensate for trying to lift a weight that I'm not prepared to lift. I believe that ego lifting is one of the biggest ways that we can injure ourselves, especially inside the gym. One thing I have to always remind myself is that who gives what anyone else is lifting? Who cares how many plates I have on each side of the bar? Really, no one cares. The only person that really cares and that wants to show out is me, and that is just my ego talking. So the more that I can just focus on lifting the weights that I can handle with good form, the better my low back is gonna feel. One thing I gotta mention about this particular video is that this is what helped me. If you find yourself maybe in a similar situation as me, then maybe this might help you. But this was very specific to my root causes, which may or may not be yours. Although if my situation is similar to yours, you can try some of these solutions out for yourself for about 1 to 3 weeks, see how they work. But the main thing is that you have to find your own solutions. And I hope that this video at least points you towards the right direction. So after my journey of going through low back pain and suffering through it for, I would have to say, about half a decade, 6 years, this was something that people would tell me that I would live with for the rest of my life. After I had done all these things and solved my low back pain, it made me realize that there is a solution to pretty much every single problem or most problems that are out there. It's just a fact of trying to find it for yourself. And I also want to point out that this is not a hit piece on chiropractors. There are a lot of really good chiropractors that are out there, although the bad ones will tell you that you need to go to them for the rest of your life in order to feel better. So that was my journey to solving my low back pain, and I want to hear from you. Like, have you been able to solve low back pain if you actually dealt with it in the first place? And what are some things that you're going to try out in order to relieve yourself of pain? So if you've gone this far in the video, I just want to say thank you for your attention. I really appreciate it. And if you are down to become a better human, I am coming out with videos every single week to make you the best version of yourself. So if you're down for that, please like and subscribe to the video, and I will see you next week. Peace.